Welcome, everyone. This is Frank Klesitz. I want to welcome you to our Keeping It Real today. Thank you so much for joining us. I am at a little boardroom, if you will, at a hotel room just outside the Inman conference. So I'm down here in Las Vegas for the Inman event, learning kind of what's going on with the industry. And one of my good friends who's been on the show before, but years ago, Chris Waters is going to be joining us. And I just got off the phone with him. His flight switched, switch his flight. So he's going to do the show from McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, but I think he got randomly selected at TSA because he's still in the line. So he's going to be able to patch into us here very shortly. And I have a really cool story. I want to spend our time today with you talking about what Chris accomplished in Austin. I'll just give you a brief backstory, and then hopefully when he hops on here, once he's able to get on his computer and join us for live, he'll be able to go into more depth of how he scaled his real estate team. But essentially, let me give you a little quick rundown of what he did. He started from scratch and built his real estate team in Austin to a level where he earned net profit. So this is a big difference between gross and net. This is not gross GCI. This is net after expenses. $1 million. Isn't that crazy? Like netting $1 million after all expenses, and did it in 3 years. And he did it by kind of studying a lot of what real estate teams at the time were doing around the country, and putting a lot of key positions in place and buying the leads correctly and making sure he led the team to convert them to build a real estate team. The other thing I really respect about Chris is he started his own brokerage. So basically, I think he was with a national brand for maybe 6 months or a year, pieced out from the national brand, and did this all as his own real estate brokerage. So it's one thing maybe if you're tied to a national brand that could maybe give you some connections and help you out. But he did this with his own brokerage. So it's Waters International Realty. You can go check that out, Google it, and you can see his company in Austin. And he was telling me the other night something like he's franchised his team. So he took his team model and this concept of, how you scale up quickly, and took it to several other markets as a real franchise. And the number that came to mind, I'm sure it's okay if I share this with you, is something like 60 million in gross commission income, following some of the principles that you're going to hear today when he's actually able to hop on here, which I'm just kind of sharing what I've learned from Chris and a friend. And he wrote a book about it too, how we did it. So if you go to Amazon, you can go pick up a copy of The $1 Million Real Estate Team. I actually helped him write it. He came out to my house and I interviewed him for 11 hours because I was so intrigued on how that's possible. And we went chapter by chapter and we did the audio interviews, and then he transcribed, we got it transcribed, and from that became the book. So you actually want to go a little deeper on this, you can go check it out. So it looks like he's going to join us right now. The author of The $1 Million Real Estate Team, live from Las Vegas, McCarran Airport, probably a little flustered getting his internet connection set up. And Chris, are you there, my friend?
Oh, I'm here. How you doing, guys?
Awesome. Does your audio work, or does your video work?
I'll be sitting down in just a minute, and I can do audio.
Well, I'm just getting the audience caught up to your backstory. I was telling him, you started your own brokerage. You went from making no money to earning net profit $1 million in 3 years. And because your flight leaves, we probably only have about 45 minutes to do before you're so kind to come with us on this interview, I want to get right to the point. I want you to share with the audience of how you scale up so quickly, Chris. People have come to this interview because they're like, whoa, that's actually possible. Like, what's the little secret here? Because you also started without any money. This is also very important. It's not like Chris went out and borrowed a whole bunch of money or sold equity in his company. He bootstrapped the whole thing to earn net $1 million.
Yep.
So I want to start here, Chris. I know some of your story is that you started by getting a Boomtown account back in the day before anything else.
On a credit card.
On a credit card. It'd be the same thing as going to get a Real Geeks account on a credit card and buying the leads just because some other influencer that you looked up to was doing that and you figured that was a good idea, right?
Yep. And honestly, looking back, I wish I had just signed up for Real Geeks because, Boomtown is $1,000 plus per month, and that money could have gone a long ways. So I tell everybody now, and if you read my book, I mentioned Real Geeks is the best solution because it's cost effective, good at lead gen, it's got everything you need, and it gives you lots of room to spend on lead gen, that extra $1,000, the delta between Boomtown and Real Geeks.
Yeah, that's an extra $1,000 of lead generation you spend on versus the platform fee. 100%.
Yeah,
Now,
I was in my ego too much then, you know. I heard some influencer talk about Boomtown, and so I was like, I gotta do it. And then I looked back and I was like, man, that was like a waste of 12,000 a year. I wasn't ready for the Cadillac then, but
well,
anyways,
good.
everything
See,
worked out.
look, the very first thing you did is you on a credit card to get this thing going is got yourself a CRM and you generated leads to it. But what's really cool to get the audience caught up in the story is that you really did not want to follow up with the leads yourself. And you
Right.
immediately began recruiting agents to those leads. You skipped the whole, oh, I'm going to call these leads and go on the appointments. You're
Yep.
like, that's not going to get me where I want to go. And you went out and recruited the agents directly to leads, right? Like, tell me how an appointment went and what you said to get the appointment to recruit them based upon
So
the leads from Real Geeks, let's say.
yeah, so the thing that I did in the summer of 2010 was I in the month of May, I started booking appointments in the morning with agents, and then I would meet them in the afternoon. And I spent the whole summer, May, June, and July, getting agents to sign letters of intent to join my team. I didn't actually take their license on and sponsor them yet. And what I was doing over the course of the summer of 2010 was essentially pitching the vision and the things that I was going to offer them.
And how old were you at the time? You're what, 28, 27?
24.
24?
24, yeah.
Yeah.
24 going on 25.
So 24, 24-year-old kid going out to all these agents, probably what, 10, 15, 20 years older than you?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
So I basically told them, I'm like, look, I'm going to give you one of the best pieces of tech. And more importantly, I'm going to give you leads so you can call prospective people and get in front of them and get clients and close deals.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was really my main value prop was the Boomtown system itself. And more importantly, hey, I'm going to give you prospects
because
ready to go.
Those agents probably didn't know about even that technology at that time, nor did they want to take the risk on spending the money like you would on your credit card.
Yeah. But, what's interesting is like, here it is 2021. And a lot of people, think it's all about the tech. But the truth is most people just need leads and they don't have the money to pay for them. So another one of my value props was I was bankrolling the lead gen for the agents.
Yes.
And so I didn't recognize that at the time, but that's what I figured out is the key differentiator why I was a 24-year-old kid able to get agents to join me, even considering I didn't know I was not a subject matter expert agent by any means. I hardly
the
sold
leads were
houses.
The gold. That's the currency in recruiting.
Yeah. Leads were the gold plus paying for them. You're bankrolling the agent. So I spent the summer getting all these agents to sign LOIs. And in the morning, I'd book the appointments. In the afternoons, I'd meet them. But I had a little time block allocated after I prospected agents. That was about 1 to 2 hours. And I would call local businesses. And I'd say, hey, I'm starting this real estate company. We're looking for a vendor to work with. You can get integrated into our training, get in front of our agents. And, we'll tell all of the agents that if you're going to work with our team, you need to build a close-knit community with our vendors because they're helping support us and you. So I signed up I signed up a mortgage company. I signed up a roofing company, a homeowner's insurance company, and what was the third? There was one other one. I think it was like a title company. I think I got somewhere between like 2,500 and 5,000 per month. And I had everybody post date when the vendor services agreement would start. So I had all the agents signing LOIs post dated to say our launch was going to be August 1st. And so I spent May, June, July, prospecting agents getting LOIs signed until August 1st is when we're going to start. And then I got all the vendors to sign the vendor agreements, agreeing to kick in money, and for them to come on board August 1st. And that's when they would start contributing money directly to Boomtown. And, signed up with Boomtown, told them I want this.
So you zero costed the lead generation by bringing on a couple of vendors to help pay for it.
Yeah, exactly. So you asked me, what are the like key things to make it grow fast. Number one, it's getting access to money, which I have discovered every single like business that's successful in scaling up, they go and raise money through venture capital. Well, I obviously couldn't do that for a real estate team. I didn't have any credit, no credit. You know, my credit card had like a $2,000 limit.
Yeah.
So key thing, scale fast, is the money and the people. And to get the people, you need some kind of value proposition.
Which
to
for you
get
is the
them
lead.
committed to work with you. Yeah, the leads and the bankrolling, the lead gen costs for the agent.
Chris, knowing what you know now, if you were to go out and do the same thing and offer those agents a split, how would you comp those agents knowing what you know now? Not then, but what would be the split, the compensation you would say, hey, if someone to go do this today, what should they offer?
I would come out of the gate offering a 50-50 split. If you're giving them the leads, you know, you're paying for them, you're paying for their tech, they're not incurring all these fees, you know, like a lot of these brokerages charge monthly technology fees, you know, insurance, all this random stuff. I think you do a 50-50 split out of the gate. And then, you know, the next domino, I believe that you need to knock down as an aspiring team builder to improve your value prop, get more agents, and help the agents be more successful, is getting an inside sales team to take over the prospecting. If you survey agents, over 90% of them say that the worst part of their job is prospecting for clients. They want to meet people face to face. They do not want to be on the phone. Like over 9 out of 10 agents do not want to be on the phone. And so that's where you ultimately want to get, because then you control, you control the conversion rates, you get better ROI, your business is more predictable. But you know, you got to wait to build the cash reserves to afford an inside salesperson. But that's the next key domino in scaling up fast.
So let's bring this together. So get yourself a CRM, go buy some leads in that CRM, go use those leads to go get target agents that just want someone to bankroll that lead generation, and then maybe go approach some other local businesses, which we won't go into too depth yet. If we have time, we will, to help offset some of that lead generation cost, because they make money on a home sale and it's worth it to them to get access to that client because they're contributing towards your lead generation costs. Because when a home sales, it provides leads, it provides like ultimate business for them. But once that's done, the next big value proposition, besides kind of bankrolling the leads, right, is hiring someone to actually call and follow up and nurture them to actually set an appointment.
Right.
How much would you pay that ISA or that inside sales assistant to help with that part? Knowing.
Yeah. So this is probably one of the areas I screwed up the most, and it's one of the most misunderstood areas is the comp structure for inside sales. Like you hear a lot of people talk about paying like a low base, so like $30K a year, and like tack on like maybe 10% of gross GCI. Like that's the worst idea ever. I tried it, failed miserably. The ideal setup is you do some market research on what do inside salespeople make in the industry. And what I discovered is, I looked on like Glassdoor, I think, there are more people with the title inside sales in their job title, more people with that title than realtors in the entire country. So there's this massive category of inside sales professionals that's what they do for their career. And so these guys are smart, right? So like, you know, driven, hungry, aggressive, educated, smart people going to do their research. So I encourage anybody that's looking to get an ISA to go do some research on Glassdoor, PayScale, salary.com, and find out what the base pay is of an inside sales rep. It varies in every single market. And then the other key thing I figured out is you need to give them a little spiff when they book the appointment. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be like 10 to 25 bucks. And then when the deal actually closes, then you give them a little kicker on the back end. Nothing crazy. Like, you know, we paid them 5 basis points. So, you know, for you guys that know what basis points mean, it's like 0.05%. So on a $300,000 house, 5 basis points is 150 bucks. That's what we paid them on the back end. So they don't have a lot of control on the back end side. You know, the reason you want to pay them on the back side of something is because you want them paying attention to asking the seller the right questions to qualify them to ensure they're not wasting the listing agent's time, because there's only so many appointments a listing agent can go on or a buyer's agent can go on.
Yeah, Chris, your audio is really challenging. Why don't you mute out really quick while you're on that tram? Just mute out really quick while you're in the tram. And then you get out of the tram, go ahead and mute out. So first off, let everyone know, like, I'm super appreciative that Chris is coming on here he's super busy and he had to go change his flight. I apologize for the audio with him at the airport, but still, if you can actually listen to what he's saying, this is incredibly valuable. Chris, when it sounds like maybe if someone goes and gets your book, The $1 Million Real Estate Team, they can learn more about the concept of how you zero costed your lead generation to generate the leads in the CRM in the first place. All right. That really helped out tremendously at $2,500 to $5,000 a month. Huge. But here's my question.
Right, huge.
When does someone have the money to hire a real inside sales assistant? What, 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year? At what point, how much volume do you need to be doing where you're comfortable writing that kind of check? And do you hire that person before an executive assistant on the administrative side of the business?
Yeah, so you want to hire an executive assistant first, because you're going to be the most skilled inside sales and outside sales rep. So you need to maximize your dollar income producing activities and build your cash reserves and your cash flow. And then as your cash reserves build and your cash flow grows, you can afford to hire an inside sales rep. So for me, I lived super poor. Like, even though I was making good money, I lived like I was super poor, paying $600 a month in rent.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut out there. So I was paying like $600 a month in rent. My cost of living was super low. And so my goal was to get to 30K in cash reserves and to get my monthly income up to about $15,000 a month. And that basically covered the cost of my EA and my ISA. And it gave me enough money to live on. So you just need to figure out, like, how much money do you need to live, and then increase that cost of an ISA and an EA on top of your cost of living. And when you get there from a monthly cash flow perspective, and you've got a couple months worth of reserves, factoring in those new expenses. So for example, if you got 15K in fixed expenses per month, ideally you have a bare minimum of 30K sitting in cash reserves. Like, that's kind of the worst case. People recommend like 6 months, 12 months, whatever. I mean, if you want to grow fast though, you got to take some risks. You're going to have to take the leap of faith with less money in cash reserves if you're trying to grow really fast.
So let's recap. Go get the leads in the CRM. Go find some other vendors that would see value in contributing toward the marketing costs because they want to get access to pre-movers. That's what they call it in the industry, a pre-mover list, and set that up correctly, which you can get more details. I don't have time for that, but in Chris's book.
Hey, Frank, I'll give everybody a copy of the book for free. I mean, it costs me like $6 or $7 to print the book out, but I'm happy to give anybody that's listening to this a copy of the book for free. All I'd ask is to pay shipping. I have you can go find the book on Amazon, and we've sold, I think we've sold.
Yeah, you probably have
copies.
You have a direct link. Where is it? Where can people go?
So it's really long. It's $1,000,000realestateteam.com.
Okay.
Super long, but it's a landing page you can go to, and that's what I tell my friends to go to get the book for free. And all I ask is pay the shipping. It costs me about 12 to 14 bucks to ship a book. The book's like 6 to 7, shipping's like 6, 7. So I'll cover the book. You just cover the shipping. Cool. And so you go to that landing page, and you can download the book. You can get the book for free. Again, just pay the shipping costs.
And because I told the audience I helped you write it. So go read the chapter on the brand ambassador program of how you find other vendors who want to get access to people who are moving that will help you contribute to your marketing spend. So you generate the leads, you go recruit agents to those leads, you get yourself an executive assistant. Then it's a matter of finding an inside sales assistant to help with the lead follow-up to set the appointments for the agents as a second big value proposition. In addition to generating leads. What's next?
Yeah, so in my particular instance, I didn't hire a local EA when I launched the team. I had a VA, so my VA was making like $600 to $700 a month. I'm doing a lot of administrative stuff, and then I hired a local EA, but that wasn't until our revenue was higher. So I didn't hire an EA out of the gate. I think that's important to mention that.
Okay, so hold
Got
on.
my loss slow.
This isn't like some $40,000-$50,000 executive assistant. You hired a virtual assistant for $600 to $700 a month to
Yes,
do
that's
that
right.
first.
That was my first
That's
assistant
a
was a VA.
huge insight. And you were doing that back in 2011 when hiring someone overseas was pretty new.
Yeah, so I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week, in 2010, and the light bulbs were going off like, oh my God, I can get an assistant to help me with all these random administrative tasks. And I had heard about this software that'll like record your screen and it'll record your voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm doing my day-to-day thing, I just started recording my screen and talking as I was doing my job. And I just created a library of videos and like put them in a folder and Dropbox and shared it with the VA. I'm like, hey, here's everything I need you to do. And, ask me questions. What's kind of crazy is that the VA, his name is Joselle. He's still with me to this
Still
day.
with you, huh?
It'll be like 11 years next spring.
Wow.
That he joined me.
That's a huge insight. Chris, how important is it for somebody in real estate who's trying to scale up today to open their mind to using foreign labor on administrative side of the business?
I mean, you don't have to do it, but you'll be at a disadvantage. I mean, it's going to slow you down. I don't think you're gonna scale up like I did without a VA. I mean, we have multiple VAs now. There's definitely value in having like local boots on the ground. Like my EA in the beginning wore a lot of different hats. Like she was, dealing with like getting HR docs ready when we hired a new agent. She was like going and delivering stuff for me like a courier. She was talking to clients on my behalf. She was like operating as a closing coordinator. She was wearing a ton of different hats, and I could only have done that with somebody boots on the ground, right? Like courier, meeting the agents face to face to go through HR paperwork and stuff. Like I'm sure there's a lot of those things I could have gotten a VA to do, but I need a local boots on the ground person. So
got it. Okay, so after we talked about EA, we talked about ISA, what's like the next building block to scale up quickly? I think we just lost Chris. One of these things I'm going to ask to get done for you guys to help you out is get this transcribed, because I know it's a little hard to, but the content's strong. So he's going to come on back. Chris, you're back.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm back.
No worries,
sorry,
man.
guys.
No worries. I was telling everyone with your audio, I'm going to try to get this thing transcribed and posted so it's easy to read, but the content's strong. Thanks for doing this, Chris. What's next? Virtual assistant, inside sales assistant, starting a vendor program, getting leads, just straight, easy internet leads to recruit agents to those leads.
Yep.
I mean, I want to throw in here, when do you have to double down on actually getting these agents up to speed in your training?
So that's exactly right. So the next
is that the next thing?
Yes. So that's where I failed. So I recruited, if you read the book, the first year I launched the team, I recruited like, over 12.5 agents. We had, I think, 20 agents roughly, including me, that I recruited. And out of those 20 agents, 18 of them sold 18 homes. And so the other 80 homes were sold by me and one other guy.
So you were working your butt off to finance your own brokerage. That's a very common thing, isn't it?
I was essentially, taking my profits from all my hard work and putting it into and covering all these expenses for these other agents that they didn't capitalize on. So in the summer of 2011, I'm like, man, I actually need to learn how to be a salesperson. Because like, even at that point in my career, I'm like 25 then, like I, did not have that great of a listing presentation. I basically gave people a CMA. Like I didn't have any kind of formal presentation, nothing. I didn't understand the process. My agents weren't having any success. And it was a very humbling, like, experience when I got my tax return, because I thought I had made a lot of money, and then I realized my adjusted gross income was pretty low, like a lot less than I expected. And that year I was so busy, I wasn't even paying attention to money, right? I'm
That's
just
crazy. You
paying
had
out
so
bills.
many agents and you were going so crazy that first year. You just worked from the
Yeah.
second you woke up to the second you went to bed, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean those first 3 years were incredibly tough. Like I remember lots of nights like being on the phone, from 6 a.m. until 1 o'clock in the morning. My days, basically, I think one of the, they talk, you read books like self-help books that talk about like your habits, ultimately define your activities, and then your activities drive your results. And so the key habits I had to build, which did not come naturally to me, was how to time block, which you hear about that all the damn time, right? But it's like I had to get super disciplined allocating 1 to 2 hours a day of lead gen, 1 to 2 hours calling agents, 1 to 2 hours calling vendors. And then in the afternoon and the evenings, I'm meeting agents, vendors, and clients because I'm still selling houses. And so like literally those first 3 years were super, super hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember it's funny, I can like name this client I worked with named Christina Pagano, super sweet lady. She's an attorney. And I was, talking to her at 1 o'clock in the morning. She was buying like 3 investment properties from me. And we had, back then your option period or feasibility period on a contract would expire at midnight. So we had, she had multiple houses with me and we were negotiating through some houses that need a lot of work. So it was a lot of hours, but time blocking is crucial. And then actually take action, right? Like not only just time block, but actually like
Well, you were
apply
super
effort.
driven. I mean, and I'm
Oh,
going to get into
super
the
bro.
training question here, but also one of the things I want to drive home for the audience of all these top people at their
Yeah.
game that I've met, a pattern I want to hear the audience to hear, and myself included, is the pain of living so much below your means when your revenue is
Yeah.
coming in.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so few people can do that, Chris, is when you get those commission checks, there is
Yep.
something driving you to go throw it all back in your business and not go
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
follow me?
I mean, for me, for me, it was freedom, right? Like if I can keep investing money in people and surrounding myself with people, I'm going to more quickly get myself out of the day-to-day grind. And I remember reading a book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And, there were a lot of moments between 2010 and 2013 where I was like, God, I don't know if I can keep doing this, And there's a part of the book where Tony talks about like how, in a lot of these times in life when like things are really, really difficult, like mental health, like all different things like that. When that kind of stuff's going on, like you need to kind of zoom out for a minute and remind yourself that this is just a tiny moment in time. And when you look at the grand scheme of things in your career, like 40 years, like, if you got like a bad week, like it's one bad week out of a 40-year career. So like there's, if you can like practice, like kind of like separating yourself from like the suck, as I call it, when you're in those moments of the suck and realize it's just a moment in time, it'll help you like keep a sense of perspective to keep going when things really suck. And so reading that book was super helpful for me. The other thing is regarding coaching, another key thing that happened to me was in 2011 when I realized like I didn't know how to train salespeople, is I went and signed up for coaching. So the coaching program I got on board with, they don't exist anymore, but it was called Kinder Reese Coaching. And what was great about them is they had these weekly calls. Like they had a call for your buyer's agents, one for your listing agents. And so, again, I had no training program, nothing. And so I signed up for it. I had my agents plugging into that. And then I was also learning myself with my agents as I went along in terms of like, what's the process when you meet somebody face to face to get them committed to working with you? And so, I learned this, I learned from a guy named Jay Kinder that, I asked him, I'm like, like what's that process look like? And he said very simplistically to me, it's kind of like playing baseball when you meet somebody for the first time. First base is about building rapport, connecting, building trust. Second base is about establishing yourself as an expert. So educating them on what's going on in the market, creating credibility. And then third base is differentiating yourself. What can you do differently for them that no one else can do? And then the home plate is obviously getting them committed to working with you and signing the agreement. So when I kind of understood that like flow of how a face-to-face appointment went, that was super crucial. And then I learned about inside sales, like, you know, every objection is an opportunity to ask a question, to go for the appointment. Like I used to just like talk myself out of appointments. Like I wanted to try to establish myself as an expert on the phone, and I would just like throw up on them, like trying to prove to them that I knew all this stuff on the phone.
Yeah.
It's a huge mistake. So the thing, there's basically what I've discovered is to be a really successful agent or team leader. If you're a team leader, you got to teach this. You got to teach people how to be good at inside sales, and that's a skill. You got to teach people how to be good at outside sales. That's a skill. And then you need to teach them to be subject matter experts. So if you as an agent or a team leader can knock those dominoes down, you're going to have a tremendous amount of success. And what I have basically figured out is the road to riches in real estate is learning how to convert somebody into a client that has no idea who you are. Like anybody can go sign up their friend, their neighbor, or whatever as a client, but you're going to have a very small business and it's going to grow very, very slow. Especially if you don't have a sphere of influence, right? So if you want to grow and scale fast, you got to learn how to convert people that have no idea who you are. And it's about learning those skills to be able to do it.
Chris, that's incredibly insightful. Let me sum up what I heard here is to, outside of some personal development insights of the pain of building a business living below your means, you needed to train these agents because you realized they were probably doing pretty poorly with their production versus yours. So you signed up for someone else's coaching and threw them on their coaching. But during that process, you were learning and you were really kind of making some mental models to yourself of what you just shared. And ultimately, you created your own training. What would you recommend for an agent watching this that went out and hired a couple agents, did the whole thing, but they need to get these people up to speed on that metaphor of first base, second base, third base? How should they go about delivering the training? Do they go get someone else's? Do they create their own? How do they deliver it? What are your thoughts?
If you're a team leader or aspiring team leader and you don't have those skills developed yourself personally, then go get a coach. And there's lots of these coaching companies that actually work with your team directly. So for example, I've been through all of them. I paid all of the coaches in this industry, and they're all really great. But every coach kind of has like a niche of what they're really good at. So for example, one of my probably favorite coaches for inside sales is Dirk Zeller. He has a company called Real Estate Champions. He's written a lot of books on inside sales. So if you're trying to coach yourself, if you're trying to get coaching for yourself and your agents, I would highly recommend Dirk Zeller for mastering inside sales. And then the outside sales piece is tricky because it's hard to do that over Zoom. You've got to like role play with people. And so
will you be a little clear on what you mean by inside sales and outside sales from a specific definition relative to real estate?
So like I guess it's not commonly spoken of. Like people don't differentiate inside sales and outside sales in real estate. And I guess the reason I do is like I kind of put those things in boxes because they're independent skills. Like what you do on the phone versus in person is radically different. And so like, for example, that first year I talked about my team only selling 98 homes and we had 20 people and 18 of them sold 18 houses. The thing I figured out is like, you can talk yourself out of an appointment trying to be a subject matter expert on the phone. Like you should not be trying to be the subject matter expert on the phone. You can only do that face to face after you've built rapport with somebody and they trust you. So the whole goal from an inside sales perspective is to essentially qualify the lead and then have a carrot to get them to want to meet you face to face. And so there's a basic script, right? And different like value propositions you can offer the consumer. Like, I have houses that are not currently on the market that you won't find on the internet anywhere. You can come into my office. I'll go through and share with you this private list I keep for VIP clients. When's a good time for us to meet? Mornings or afternoons? So inside sales is a skill, like legit skill. It's different. It's a different skill than meeting somebody face to face. What gives you confidence with outside sales is the marketing collateral.
So hold on, let me be clear. So inside sales is appointment setting, and outside sales is face-to-face consultations.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, and then the final one is subject matter expertise, which is like how to be a good agent, like deal with contracts and all this stuff we think that we need to know, but actually, you don't even need to be a subject matter expert to be successful.
So how do you deliver that training? Let's say you onboard, you have 4 agents, 5 agents that, all right, look at you starry eyed, 50-50 split. Here are my leads. And, they probably have years of bad habits, right? How do you get them productive quickly so they're not wasting all your lead generation dollars and they're selling houses to pay your bills?
So literally the most effective thing I ever did was getting people on the phone next to me, doing these call jam sessions. So I literally get them on the phone right away and get them prospecting and give them feedback live. And I'm kind of like a trainer at the gym sitting next to them. Like when I'm sitting next to them, they're going to make a lot more calls than if they're by themselves. And I can also give them live feedback. So one of the most powerful things you can do without putting together some like fancy, training program is in the beginning, just get people taking action. Like forget going through like some training guides. Like you don't need any of that. You just need to get people on the phone. It's kind of like you go to the gym, the guy at the gym doing 10 reps versus the guy doing 100 reps. Well, the guy doing 100 reps is going to get, a lot stronger. And so you need to get your agents doing reps, i.e. making calls and getting people on the phone. And then you need to get them face to face with clients and then go with them to help them build confidence around how to convert people into clients.
So you have to be a great agent before you start recruiting because it's by shadowing.
Exactly. So like that was one of the big things I screwed up was like I was not a great agent when I brought on team members. And so my team's like failure wasn't a failure on them, it was a failure on me as a team lead to be able to lead them to success. And so in the beginning it was messy. I didn't have this regimented training program. I just got everybody on the coaching calls and gave them leads and then just tracked in the CRM, how many calls they were making, emails sent, all the little metrics on the back end, and then, following up with them and then doing those call jam sessions. But as things like advanced, then I put together like a 30-day ramp up program and things were, more regimented. But you don't have to have that regimented, training manual ready to go at the gate.
How does someone hold it all together when they're in production? They have to go sell houses. They have to go recruit agents. They have to manage vendor relationships to get the money to pay for the marketing. And they have to have agents follow them or shadowing them to be able to build a team when you're bootstrapping it at the same time while you're living below your means, not enjoying any of the income that you're making for yourself.
The correct answer is you pretty much sacrifice everything in your life. So working out, family time, your significant other, like you give all that stuff up because it requires a significant amount of work to be able to do all those things. I read a couple of years ago a book Gary Keller wrote called The One Thing, and he talked about how the only people that find balance in life are the ones that live very mediocre lives. And so I think you have to, what I did indirectly and I didn't realize at the time is you have to be willing to commit for a duration of time to be incredibly unbalanced in your life and be just like obsessively focused on trying to make something successful, like almost sadistic, your focus on making something successful. And you can't get distracted, and it's tough. Real estate's tough. There's so many people trying to sell us stuff and get us distracted and in their program or whatever, but you got to be crazy focused.
God, that's insightful. Good answer, Chris. Oh, this is good stuff. Hey, Chris, move your camera down a little bit so we can see you. Your phone. All right.
I'm trying to find my boarding pass.
I guess I'm trying to think of the next logical question I'm going to ask. I love the takeaway of VAs. Let's talk about lead sources. So you got to give these agents leads. I guess let me ask a different question. There are agents out there that build teams where they are coaching and training their agents to go generate their own leads. So you took a very different route to build a team. You spent the money on lead generation. You raised money to help offset that cost. You hired an ISA to set the appointments, and you went kind of the marketing direction, if you will. There's other
Yep.
people who want to start teams. They're like, no, 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 no. I'm going to get my agents to cold call. I'm going to get my agents to do their own lead follow-up. And there's less financial risk, but it's a different type of model. Can you share with
Yep.
us the pros and cons of both ways of going about this? How you went the marketing route and ISA route to support the agents and basically set appointments for them, where other
It's
people,
going to be
other agents. So tell me the pros and cons.
yeah, it's going to be a lot less profitable, right? If they're taking on the risk as the agent to generate the lead. So I think that's the good model in the beginning. If you don't want to go and raise money through what I call our brand ambassador program, that's one way to go about doing it, is getting the agents, teaching them how to go and generate leads. And by the way, we also had the agents going and doing their own activities to drive lead gen. So open houses, calling their sphere. The leads that convert the fastest and have the highest conversion rate are the old school things like doing open houses and calling your spheres, your sphere. So you got to have multiple oil wells to help your agents have success. Another mistake I made in that first year was I only gave my agents internet leads, and internet leads take 6 to 12 months to close. The conversion rate's very low, and the agent's going to make very, very little money. And so your goal as a team lead is to help these people make as much money as fast as possible. So the other thing I figured out is I needed to hold them accountable to doing open houses every weekend, especially in the beginning of their career, doing these call jam sessions with them when they call their sphere, and get them to take massive action, and then also supplement them with internet leads. So those multiple oil wells is what helped
open houses. Let me get that straight. Open houses.
Yep.
And they're doing the open houses not at their own list. Can they do open houses on other listings?
So what's interesting is that first year or so, I hardly had any listings, and in fact, there was one point I didn't have any listings, and so I was just cold calling other agents, asking them if my agents could do open houses at their listing.
And they agreed to that even if they were at other brokerages. Okay, that's a huge insight. Then you brought them together to overcome the fear of calling their sphere. And you call them call jam sessions, because no one's just going to call their sphere when they're all alone on their own time, Chris. That's just not human behavior, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I did this survey of all the agents on my team and group like a year ago. And literally it was like 93% of our entire company said the one thing they wish they could give up and get rid of is prospecting on the phone. Like, most people become agents because they've got a good personality, they're outgoing, they like to be face to face. And so it's just incredibly painful for them. There's a reason why, like, the Fortune 500 companies out there have separate roles, one for inside sales and one for outside sales, because they're different personalities. People that, like to be on the phone all day are typically not very good face to face with people. So I would, recognize that. And as I said earlier, as soon as your revenue supports it, start building an inside sales team to help you on conversion. And then, man, that's a whole nother subject, inside sales and how you set it up, buy side versus list side, because they are drastically different. There's another small nuance is, like, there's a big difference between an inside sales rep that works inbound leads and one that works outbound, doing outbound prospecting.
We won't go into that.
Yeah.
I want to ask that's a whole other thing. I know. Netting $1 million with a real estate team, what are the correct financial ratios, net profit margins, maybe considerations with commissions and what the average price point is in a market, maybe transaction fees or ancillary income? Just knowing what you know now, if you had to guide somebody, man, how do I actually net $1 million with the real estate team? Can you share with me the accounting or financial ratio structure of how you think about the money, of what percent goes to what?
Sure. So I'm going to give you the unit economics from a percentage perspective, assuming you're not in
and by the way, I don't want you to miss your flight. When's your flight? 30 minutes?
It leaves at 11:20.
Okay, go ahead.
So the way the numbers shake out, is if you assume you as the team leader completely out of production, The way the money gets allocated is 35% of gross revenue should go to your COGS, cost of goods sold, or the money you pay out to your agents in splits. So the way you drive those COGS down, because that means you're taking 65% of gross revenue, right? And if your buyer agent is on a 50-50 split, well, that doesn't work. So the way you drive the COGS down is by the inside sales value prop to the agent, where you can reduce the split
50-50.
to the agent even. You reduce it below 50-50.
To what?
So like on the listing side, our split is 85-15. 15% to the agent, 85% to me. And then I cover the cost of everything. Like literally all my listing agent does is show up on an appointment. And by the way, my listing agents are the highest paid people on my team. They all make 200 to 250,000. They stay with me for years and years and years and never leave.
Because you're taking all the risk on the listing, lead generation, the appointment setting.
And I have like the,
and all the admin,
courier, photographer, everything, right? So they have no expenses. They wake up, look at their calendar, go on an appointment, give our marketing presentation, and then get them, signed up, and then turn it into the team to execute.
God, not a lot of people do that, Chris, do they? When they build a team.
Right. No, they don't. So back to percentages. Ideally, your average payout when you average listing side and buy side is 35% goes to your agents. So maybe 50% on the buy side and 15% on the list side. That's what you want to build towards. It's not going to be like that in the beginning.
So it's like a blend, all in blended 35%.
Yeah, a blended 35% split goes out to the agent. And then on operating expenses, ideally you're at about 20% of your gross revenue goes to OpEx. So OpEx is your technology fees, your rent, your salaries of your W-2 employees. And then the other category is lead generation. Ideally lead gen is at about 10%.
So if my numbers are correct, 65% on expenses?
Yes, but one thing I'll tell you is that that's what you can get up to.
What's more reality, man? You can't you're saying you bring 45% to the bottom line? 35% is the target. That's high, man. That's really good.
So when things are humming for us and we're not like testing or whatever, we'll hit 35%. It doesn't happen often because, for example, my lead gen budget one year may go from 10% to 20%. Because I, launch some advertising campaign to test, right? And maybe it works or it doesn't work. Or I launch some piece of software or I hire somebody and that employee doesn't work out. So in a perfect world, I shared with you what they are. 20% to OpEx.
Do you take a salary? Do you pay yourself in a salary before in that 20%? Or is that bottom line all yours, including salary and distributions, everything else?
I take a salary, but it's really small. I think it's like 30,000 a year.
Got it.
And then the rest are distributions paid out to me.
Okay. But do you find those margins hold true in most markets like Austin?
So in markets where your average sales price is north of $3 to $350, it's very, very doable. In markets where your average sales price is $150 to $225, it's harder to hit those margins because your gross revenue per transaction is so much less.
Got it. Any other thoughts for someone scaling up a team and other sources of revenue beyond just the commission they should be thinking about? And then we'll start wrapping up.
Yeah, I think something that's kind of a hot topic right now is partnering with mortgage companies and title companies in a joint venture capacity where you guys own a equity stake in this shell entity, if you will. And the thing is, though, you shouldn't do that until you control a lot of transactions. When you get to 400 to 500 transactions a year, that's when you should start considering doing these joint ventures. And those are really lucrative opportunities where you get, shareholder distributions through a joint venture. And essentially, your team is kind of the marketing engine. And then your partner is somebody that's already in the industry and they're the operator of the business.
And then you both form an LLC and it all goes through that for a joint venture.
Yep. That's right. Yep. But, there's in the book, when I talk about the brand ambassador program, the thing I kind of discovered is I started documenting everybody we were sending business and referring business to. And I came up with 26 different local businesses that were non-competing that I was referring business to throughout a year. I think another important note to make is like, I remember walking into this roofing company's office, and I met with the owner of the roofing company. And this was in the very beginning when I hadn't signed anybody up yet. And his name's David Phillips. This was like back in 2010. I still remember. I still know him to this day. But I asked David, I said, "Hey, how do you generate leads for your roofing company?" And he said, "Well, we spend money on direct mail to past clients. We spend a lot of money on PPC." I'm like, "Really? You spend money on PPC too?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. I'll spend $1,000 to $1,500 to acquire a customer." And I was like, "Whoa, you spend $1,000 to $1,500 to acquire a customer?" I'm like, "Well, if I refer someone to you, if I refer a roofing job to you, is that worth $1,000 to $1,500?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And so like, I wasn't sending out roofing jobs every month, but like we were sending them one like every 3 months, like every couple months we were sending one. And so, over the course of a year, if you send them 4 roof jobs, that's 40 to 50,000 in gross revenue for his business. And so for him to chip in, $500 a month to be on your marketing collateral, like that's an amazing ROI for him. And his salespeople don't have to work 100 leads to go get one roof job closed.
We don't have time to go deeper what Chris is saying. And Chris, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because you got to get on your flight. But go ahead and mute out, Chris, because your background noise. Mute yourself out. It's even hard for me to hear myself. There you go. All right. So go check out Chris's book, The $1 Million Real Estate Team. Again, I think the detail you're looking for and some of the questions that some of you are having will be detailed in all of that. I tried to ask some of the pointed questions to give you some of the mental models and the structure of how you scale up a team quickly. I think what you'll have to see with Chris is he took a model where he took all the risk on the lead generation and the appointment setting for the agents, which is a very unique model in the space. And Chris is a brilliant marketer. And when you do that, it gives you a very systems-based business that really you don't have to worry about high levels of turnover with your agents. Chris said that his agents never leave because they don't have to prospect. You could build a team where they have to prospect, but you're going to deal with constant recruiting and turnover for the most part. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So if you like Chris's model, you can check it out. Chris, we're going to wrap this up here. I don't want you to miss your flight.
Hey, I enjoyed doing this, and I'm sorry, guys. We've had to deal with my background noise.
No worries at all.
I don't know if you told everybody, Frank, we've been at the Inman Real Estate Conference here in Las Vegas for the past week, and so I've got to fly home to go to a daughter. My daughter's an event at her school this afternoon, so I had to leave out early.
No, perfectly fine, man. You can peace out of here. I'm going to wrap it up, man. Chris, thank you so much.
All right. Hey, if anybody needs anything, probably the best way to reach out to me is via email. I deleted all the social media apps on my cell phone because it was such a distraction. So ping me just on email. It's Chris Waters at watersinternational.com. And then you can also go to the page I mentioned if you want to get a copy of the free book. And I think my info also is on in the book. I have all my contact info in there.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Frank.
Peace, dude. Be safe. So that was Chris. That was really cool. I was able to hop on and share those details. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Keeping It Real. You can go to keepingitreal.com. You can watch all the previous interviews that we've done. Like I said, we have good write-ups there, and we'll make sure this one does get actually transcribed. So if you're listening to it, you're like, oh, it's hard to hear because it's the airport. You can read and get all the good golden nuggets that way. All right. So go subscribe on Keeping It Real. We're up on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. And you can go to the Real Geeks Facebook page. You go to keepingitreal.com and you're going to get notified of new episodes. And I'm Frank, one of your hosts, and sometimes some of your co-hosts when Greg Harrelson can make it. But we want to put on good shows for you. We appreciate you watching, and we're going to wrap it up right there.